What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McAllister, joined by my beautiful wife, Diane.
Hey, everyone.
So, guys, we're going to jump in on this one, and I'm excited about this topic right here because it's something that's just been near and dear to my heart. It was something I was thinking about on the way home from the gym when I was driving home today, and it's just going to pose a question: what if you did not need approval or validation from your wife? What if you did not need sex from your wife? What would that actually feel like? Because my point with bringing that up is so many men are just stuck in where they're at in their marriage, their emotions, their feelings, their actions, their happiness, their joy, their depression, anxiety, all the different things, babe, are tied up in getting approval from their wife. Now, guys, this is called High Level Husband, but we can spin it the other way too. That is wives as well needing that approval of their husband in those ways.
For sure. It would go both ways. Yeah.
And so when I say that, I'm not like, I just don't care about my wife. Like, yo, go do your thing. I'll do my thing. That's all that matters. No, it's just that God talks about this in the Bible, that you should have no other God above him. Your wife can be an idol. He wants you to steward her. He wants you to love on her. He wants you to cherish her, treat her like the best thing ever, but never in replace of him. I'm actually going to pull up a Bible verse that on this, and I actually wasn't even planning on speaking this, but somebody brought it up the other day, and it's so important because we had a friend in our life who's really going through a tough season with their daughter. And so this goes for daughters, this goes for parents, this goes for our spouses and everything. And so I'm going to read this right now because we're going to get into this of why there is a benefit of not needing validation of it. And this is why I was driving home from the gym today, and I was just thinking to myself, God, you are just so good. Like, all I desire is you, Father. Like, I just love you so much. I'm so thankful for all that you've blessed us with in life. And that is my wife. That is my kids. That is this ministry. It's so many different things. And I love all of that. But there is nothing that comes close to the love of the Father. And most people just have never felt that, babe.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, would you say how long ago was it till you really just started feeling that intimate relationship with God where it was just filling your cup or anything like that?
Probably like 2 years, maybe. I
Right.
don't know. Yeah. To where I really felt that, I mean, obviously I've been, diving into the Bible for, I don't know, 5 years, like really like reading it every day on a regular basis and doing things like that. But, yeah, probably just a couple of years to where I really felt like I was like all in 100%.
It's crazy. And that's, guys, what we talk about so many times about being there's a big difference between being a believer and a follower. I was just talking about that with a friend of mine yesterday. We reconnected after a couple of years. Not because anything bad happened or anything. We're just different places in life. And he moved across country to go be at Bethel Church in Reading. And people have their different perceptions about it, but whatever. You go where the fruit is, and this is where God was calling him.
Yeah.
And I was literally on the Zoom just watching the difference in him. But then he was saying the same thing about me. We hadn't talked in, like I said, almost 2 years, other than like a text, but like really talked. Actually, it might have been closer to 3. And he was like, dude, there's such a difference in you. And I was like, the same thing in you, man. Like, you have this peace, this conviction. And this dude, like, he has, I think he's lost some followers, but at one point had 1 million followers online on Instagram alone. He rarely posts on there anymore. And when I started watching that, I was like, man, that was just hit my heart in a certain ways. Because typically when you have that, that's like your identity. But his identity is in Christ. Like, he just went and he just did all of that. And it's just so cool to see. My point is, you see them differently and there's feeling it. If you're a follower, you don't feel it. So when you can when you're a follower, you can feel it. But when you're a believer, you really haven't felt it. That's why you're not a follower. And then that's why you need validation from this world and not your spouse. So we're going to dive into a ton of benefits on this. I know we're going to get off the track on that. So Matthew 10:34-39, it says, do not think I have come to bring peace to the earth. Do not think I have come to bring peace to earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it. And whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. So, guys, that's talking about your household. That's talking about your spouse. Most men's, their emotions and their feelings are tied up in their spouse, and they need that to fill up their cup. And the problem with that, babe, is that then they need it all the time. And it's based on this. Check this out. It makes you emotionally dependent on her mood. If your wife is happy, you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
If she's distant, you're insecure.
Mm-hmm.
If your confidence rises or falls based on her response, you become reactive instead of steady, which makes her feel unsafe. And that does no confidence in your life. And that's where you lose control. That's where you're so dependent on things outside of you. No wonder your life feels like a wave that you're being blown and tossed by the wind, because you are dependent on your spouse for your happiness, for your joy, for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on how's she doing. Now, can your leadership and all of that heighten that? Absolutely. We're living proof, and we've seen it with countless times in our program. But what that usually finds is the reason why is because you got to a spot where you didn't need your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it actually happens. But I just see so many men struggling day in and day out on a roller coaster, dependent on how their wives are feeling.
Yeah. And because they're dependent on their wife doing that, or their wife's, emotions and stuff, they're hence not normally leading in the way that they probably should. So their wife is a roller coaster. So that just mirrors each other,
Yeah, right. So that's what we've always said is like our sins will transfer to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this countless of times. I did the last podcast kind of on that. That's biblical. It's from Genesis. And so if I'm dependent on you, then you're either going to depend on me, or your emotions will be a roller coaster because I'm a roller coaster. So you're going to mirror that. Now, it looks differently. Not everybody's emotions and feelings come out the same. Some people are yellers, angry. Some people are distant.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are very different in how that comes out, but it will still transfer. The same thing will transfer to you. And so it'll just look differently. You just think your wife's crazy, and then she's yelling and you're not. But that's still the same difference in your insecurity and your frustration, your resentment is there. I was messaging with somebody in my life today, and he was just like, his wife did some things that was not cool, and he was just like, man, the frustration and the resentment are real. And my thought process was like, dude, you are exactly what this podcast is about. You're so dependent on how your day is going is dependent on how your wife's day is going. All of her and how she treats you. What if like you just walked around and you just loved on her? And that's what it was. And if she yelled, you were like, hey, no worries, babe. Like, I love you and all of that. And it was just no big deal. It just rolled off your shoulders, and you kept about your day, still loving on her, still taking care of the kids, still spending time with God, still going to work, still doing all that stuff. And it just wasn't dependent.
Almost like you're on your own little bubble. You're still 100% present with your family and everybody, but almost like in your own little bubble where nobody can get in.
And it's not because you're keeping people out.
No.
Your mission is so much bigger than that. You're just so tied in and enough in God. It just does. Those things don't bother you.
Yeah.
But you see the people who are emotionally unstable and weak, that those things bother them on all of those levels. And so it really just does a lot of negatives in it. It weakens your leadership. A man who constantly seeks approval is not leading. He's following his wife's emotions. You start making decisions based on what she will think, not what is right. She loses respect because she wants a man who leads with conviction, not fear. So you're starting to base your decisions. Okay, is this gonna bother her? Is she gonna get frustrated? If I do this, what's all this like? It's all calculated on how she is going to react. But if God tells you to do something, you do it. And he's not going to tell you to do something that's going to destroy your life. Now, maybe your earthly things, it might tear down your finances. He might have you move. He might remove you from a job. He will do many different things, but it was always for your benefit. It may not, in the meantime, be pleasant, but on the back end, it will. But if he's telling you to do something, but you're basing your decisions on how your wife's going to feel and all those things, all that, it's a losing 100% battle. Your whole day then, that's what I'm saying. Imagine your life without that.
Yeah, that'd be tough. And kind of going back to what you were saying, I feel like too, if a man in a house is a good leader and their wife is emotionally unstable or working through some things or something, that completely reflects on the way if he's controlling his emotions or not. Oh my gosh, how do I say this? um, like if he should be the leader in the house, and if he's going by his wife's emotions, he should be encouraging her in that time. He shouldn't just be conforming to her emotions of whatever her emotions are coming out.
Yeah.
He should be encouraging her. And you've done that to me a few times, when I like had a moment, because we're all human. We all have a moment every now and then, not like days, but like a moment, and you've encouraged me like, hey, you can't get down on those things, like
Mm-hmm.
so much bigger, you encourage me during those times instead of matching my emotions.
Yeah. So well said. That's a great point. Um, as I've had that, where you've preached that over to me, where maybe I'm having a weak moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
Now, those moments are getting fewer and far between,
Yeah.
all of that type of stuff, because as we're growing and being more sanctified and all these different things, that it just gets better and better. That's why it frustrates me when people say, well, everybody argues. Well, no, everybody argues because you've stopped growing. You can
Mm-hmm.
grow out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's the cool part about it,
Mm-hmm.
is that we grow out of it. But so what you're saying is, when those emotions rise, if I dislike you and you're down and all those things, my reaction to that, my response, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
should be to listen, hear those out, understand that those feelings are real feelings to you.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they're not real feelings and they're just coming out as vomit because you're frustrated, understand them, repeat them back to you. Is this what I'm hearing you say? Okay, cool. And then as the leader, I'm going to squash it.
Yeah.
I'm going to squash it because, and what I mean by that is, when we'll use an example, guys, and I don't think we've shared this on the podcast yet, but a few weeks ago, the benefit, of having a business that grows bigger and bigger is nice, but the negative side of that is, well, then you also owe the government an insane amount of money. They want their bag, right?
Yeah.
But that it is what it is. Pay to Caesar what is Caesar's. And so it's tax season. We were expecting a giant bill. It was our best year ever last year. And the bill came, and I saw the look in your eye, and you told me what the number was, and my heartbeat did not skip a beat, which I was like, in that moment, I was like, oh, thank you, God. I've grown so much, because before I would have had so much fear. Oh, man, that's way bigger than I would have thought.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done this, this, and this with it. Oh, my gosh, like all that stuff. And that's a crutch that's been in my life forever. And God's just been working through it, growing
Mm-hmm.
through it so much. And I said, no, I'm like, okay, cool. We have the money to pay. No big deal. Like, it's no big deal. And then you were like, and then you said the next thing, and then the next thing.
I had a moment.
And then you were like, but then we owe this. And then we just did this. And then we owe this. And I was like, and it was one thing after another. And I was starting to get frustrated. I was letting you speak. And then I said, babe, tonight you need to go sit in prayer, and you need to talk to God,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to ask him about this limitation mindset that you're having right now,
Mm-hmm.
and why it's still here, because that is who we used to be. It's not who we are right now anymore. And it's coming back up. And you need to talk to him about that. I said, we're not going to speak negativity in any of these areas. And I said, look what God's done in our life. Look at all the impact with all these things. And I said, here we have plenty of money to pay all of that. I'm not concerned about that. And here's what God says in the Bible. And I spoke it over to you. And I took what was a spark in that moment. I snuffed it out. And you were super thankful.
Mm-hmm.
You got super lovey that night.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've had so many moments to speak on it.
Yeah. And I did exactly what you encouraged me to do. I went to God that night. I asked him for forgiveness for not trusting 100%, and then it was gone.
And that's what's cool, babe, is that like it was gone, right? Yeah. You did the steps. But so this is where
it was like a 5-minute moment,
This is where most this is why this is high level husband. This is why marriages are failing at 85% rate. And the reason why that is, and we're changing that, because you know what most counselors are going to say? Oh, don't try to fix your wife. Oh, don't try to fix her. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm trying to give you the biblical truth of who God created you to be in the mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm giving you the truths.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you some secular BS wisdom. I'm giving you God's truth,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's God's truth, you can't deny it.
Yeah, because there is a kind of a difference between fix and what you just said,
right?
So
exactly, I was fixing your mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
I was.
Yeah,
but nobody can ever tell me wrong, argue back, about anything with me if it's biblical.
Yeah.
Opinions are different, but when it's biblical, it's 100% truths on those things,
Mm-hmm.
which is, we talked about that in the Bible study this morning with my men's group. That's why it's so important to be equally yoked, because then when I speak biblical wisdom, you go, yep. Or you speak biblical wisdom with me, I go, yep. But if you're not equally yoked and you speak biblical wisdom, the wife's going to be like, get out of here with that BS.
Mm-hmm.
And so, guys, I'm going to give you kind of a cool back end story of this. And I've used this today at our Bible study, and they were like super pumped on this because it is the truth. So we got this giant bill, a 5-figure bill, guys, by the way, of how much we owe. And I'm not like using it as a flex. Oh, that's how much money we make. No, that's not what this is about, please, guys, because I literally could care less, honestly, about money to a certain extent. I use it to advance the kingdom. So this week we had our tax appointment to go in and pay and to go over a couple of things in with our guy. And we go in, this is about 10 days after we have this moment of me squashing that spark. And we get in there and he's like, hey guys, I'm so glad you came in. He's like, I want to tell you, I made a mistake. And he says, it's actually, you owe $10,000 less than what I thought you owed. And in that moment, I have no idea if this guy's a believer or not, or a follower.
Yeah.
I said, you know what, my man, Nick, I said, let me tell you a story. And I told him the same story I just told you guys. And I just spoke God and God's truth over him. So it's a moment to disciple him and then disciple my wife again. And then what did God do? He blessed us. Took 10 G's off that thing. Now, is that how it always goes because of it? No, but what I believe God was doing in that moment was testing us, seeing how we would react, seeing if we're prepared to go to a new level, right? Because in our finances was always our biggest chip for our 8-year wilderness period. It was due to a financial scarcity and fear. So now he's unwinding that and just testing. And because we passed this one, or at least I did, but you did too, because it was like literally 5 minutes and you were good. And you did the right steps afterwards. He came in and was like, oh yeah, here you go. Cool. So when you lean on obedience and faith, God will bless. And it doesn't ever make sense, right? Like, what's the odds that a professional, this guy's a professional, misses something like that and then it goes down, right? And it was really cool on that. I put out a post in our community today and I said, why, basically it was along the lines of Jeremiah 12, where God tells Jeremiah, if you're trying to run with men, how do you ever expect to run with horses? And what he means by that is, like, if the regular everyday problems of your life are making you fearful, scared, you need validation, your wife's emotions are knocking you down and all of that, how do you ever expect to run with horses? I've got so much more for you, but I can't give that more to you when the everyday life is kicking you in the NUTS and you're losing those battles. Fear, I need my validation, I need this, I need that, and your emotions all over the place. God will not give you the next thing, because if you can't handle the little, he can't give you the bigger, because it'll crush you even more so. And so you got to handle the little. So he's seeing that we're handling these finances. And this isn't a flex, guys. We're going to Mexico this next Thursday with bringing a team of 12 people, which we fully funded their spots for this 12 to go on this mission trip. And we paid for the house that's being built for a family that's been living in a cardboard box down there. And we bought them a house. Do you think God's trusting us with more when he sees that? I still, guys, wear $10 TikTok shoes. They show up once a month. And my kids go, you got another pair? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? They're $10. They're actually, I think they're 15. But I'm like, yeah, no points of like scrubbing them. I'll wear them until they're done. And then I throw them out, $15. Instead of like, oh, but now I got the money, I can buy Gucci, I can get all the J's I want. What I like, some nice pairs of J's to a certain extent, but everybody wears them. So I kind of stand out differently. Another stand, I get to brag about wearing TikTok shoes and nobody else rocking no TikTok shoes. I'm making TikTok shoes cool. The point of saying this is, guys, God's going to trust you with more. Are you trying to run with man? Or are you trying to run with horses? Who are you trying to be? And if you need your wife's validation, you ain't ever running with horses, because you can't even run with your wife. You want a big business and all that where it's going to make you feel that no stress and all of that, and God's going to bless you and you're going to use it, but you can't control your home. Come on now. But you can't control your home until you can control yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you first have to control your own emotions first.
because that's what it does. It lowers attraction and kills intimacy. You can't tell me right now, babe, that me speaking, you trying to run with man or you trying to run with horses over this is you like, oh yeah, you get it, babe. Like,
Absolutely. It's such an attractive trait to have your spouse as a good leader, you know, who can speak life over you, who can speak those words into other people.
I'm speaking life into you in those moments, and I'm telling you, this isn't a flex. But I'm speaking life into you in those moments. I'm passionate about this right here,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not passionate about taking you in the back room and, excuse my French, guys, but doing nasty things with my wife. We do it multiple times a week. It's literally way down on my priority list.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I tell you 30 times a day how much I love you, how much I appreciate you. You're beautiful. These jeans on she has on right now. Before we started this podcast, I said, you know, babe, those jeans look amazing on you. Like, I tell you all of these things.
Yeah.
But what am I passionate about? God. Like, literally, guys, this passion coming out of me is conviction. It's the Holy Spirit. Dude, and I was low. It's Saturday right now. I just got back from the gym. I've grinded for 6 days this week, all in. And Saturday nights is when it usually starts getting a low because Sundays are Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little low. Maybe you can even see a little bit at the beginning of the energy of this podcast. Oh, but the Holy Spirit's ripping because why? I just love God so much and I want to run with horses and not men. And I was thinking about that on the way to the gym before I posted that post in our community. And I was like, I am running with horses. And guess what? I'm a horse.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so let's go. It lowers attraction and kills intimacy when you need validation.
Mm-hmm.
I need you.
Mm-hmm.
When your wife sees it, you just need God and the Holy Spirit's coming through you. You know why nobody follows God, babe? They ain't never felt him. But you know why they don't feel him? Because they're not in the word. They're not in a men's group. They're not tithing. They're not buying houses for people in Mexico. They're not doing any of that. Guess what? We were flat broke when we moved here. 5 years ago, went all in. Literally. How are we buying houses for people now? Because we started to run with horses and not men. I didn't need your validation. I went all in on God and found out what was possible with him. Mm-hmm. And when he blew my mind, he gave us things, babe, that not even financially, and I didn't even know I wanted. I didn't even know I wanted, but what he had for me, for my purpose, for my life. And because I know the purpose for my life and the mission for my life, I care less about all that other BS.
Yeah.
It don't matter. It does not matter. And because of that, guess what, guys? When you stop needing needy from your wife and the validation, oh, she gonna chase you down. Oh, she gonna be doing crazy things to you.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. I mean, speak on that, babe.
It's true, though. I mean, obviously, I had to grow myself too, you know, obviously. But years ago, I wasn't chasing you down. I wasn't chasing myself down first, but then I wasn't chasing you down. You became this amazing leader who is confident in himself, who has God number one in his life and speak ministry all day long. And that's an attractive trait. End of story. It's like, that's attractive.
Because have you guys ever gone to, maybe it's this podcast? Because believe me, I listen to a ton of podcasts and things and I get fired up. And Diane knows I get fired up because I'll regurgitate the podcast back to her.
Yeah.
Or you've gone to a conference and you saw an amazing speaker, or you go to church and you watch a sermon that fires you up, right? The problem with conferences is it happens and then you leave and then it wears off. Mm-hmm. The problem with a church service is if it's great, it'll hit you and then it wears off over the course of the week because that's all you're doing. By the time that then you come back around again, you need to fill it up again. But if you get that church service, you go home and you're talking about it. That day you're in the word. That day you're solituding. You're telling other people. And then the next day you're repeating that cycle when you're just growing. Your cup is always going to be full. Mm-hmm. And then the next one's going to fill you up again. My point with saying that is she gets to witness this. And when your wife gets to witness a sermon or a conference, speech, motivational speech
every
daily,
day.
She's going to be like, oh, this is awesome. Uh-huh. She gets to grow all the time, but she also gets to be excited because then all that, then I pair that motivational speech with a comedy act and all these other things that I do for you and the boys. So it has attraction. A needy energy is repelling. Women are drawn to strength, not desperation. Mm-hmm. When you seek her validation, you give off insecurity, which makes her feel unsafe. she begins to mother you instead of desire you. We have this client, and we're working on him. And here's the thing. He struggles with a little depression, and he struggles with negative self-talk and
Self-worth.
self-worth. And his wife is very little interested in intimacy with him or anything else. She loves him and she wants it to work and all these things. But he's ridiculously negative self-talk. I'm worth nothing. You'd be better off without me. All of this type of stuff. And I've told this to guys, for more so to you, but in general, I wouldn't tell this to his face, but on this podcast, to anybody in general.
Mm-hmm.
They say, oh, my wife's just not that into sex or that into these things. And they speak how he speaks.
They're just not into the way that you're speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying morally,
mm-hmm.
whether that's me or anybody else who speaks like this,
mm-hmm.
who's secure in themselves,
yeah,
any other man, there's plenty of them out there. Give us a few months with her and she's gangbusters all in. It's the truth.
It is. Yeah, 100%. One of the most unattractive traits is somebody who doesn't have any confidence, who talks negative all the time. You know, those are just completely unattractive traits because there's no confidence in that person. There's no trust in God. I feel like even they could be the closest person to God, but if they're not fully trusting in God, then that's going to portray out onto how they're feeling, the worth, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I've told people. Okay, so your wife sleeps with you. Guess what? That's why it bothers me on like TikTok or Instagram, and you get these reels, and it's like a B-roll reel where the husband, it's one reel and it says, if my husband didn't get morning after my husband did not get intimacy last night, and the husband is walking around, he's kind of like slamming the drawer, he's not saying anything to his wife, he's kind of acting like she's a bro more than his wife, and then it says, oh, a morning after my husband getting lucky last night. And he's like lovey and he's all these things. And it's like, dude, you know what I hate about that? Is it shows that you're dependent on your wife. She controls your mood. Her private part controls your self-worth, your happiness, your mood. Have you ever thought about that? She's your drug. So you need to get it every day. So then if you don't get it, guess what? You're in the dumps. Mm-hmm. You're unhappy. Yeah. And then you've ruined the next day. How about you just every day of your life should be the freaking best day of your life? And why would it not be? You have the living God living inside of you. You've been saved and you're going to heaven where it's going to be phenomenal. And all of this stuff on earth is not coming with you. But you know what's supposed to go with you? Your wife, your kids, and other people. And if you're moping around because you need your wife, I'm going to give you a little secret here. Not every Christian goes to heaven. That's the truth.
Many don't.
It's not once saved, always saved. And if that's what you're being told, you are being deceived and led astray. Because go and watch where it says, Jesus says, many are going to come and say, I cast out demons in name and prophesied in your name. But I'm going to say, and they're going to say, Lord, Lord. And I'm going to say, I never knew you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does that work? If they were saved, then how does that work? Oh, why? Because they never actually repented, never actually changed their actions, and they just got dunked, and that was it.
They don't spend any time with him. How are you supposed to get to know the Lord if you don't spend any time with him?
Why would the Lord let you in? So let's put it this way, guys. You go to your house right now, at your house. Imagine somebody knocks on the door. You go and open the door, and it's some random dude. You got your wife and your kids in the house, and they go, what's up, dude? Coming on in. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You ain't coming in, bro. I don't know you. Mm-hmm. I don't know you. Yeah. Sure you do, man. Like, I'm Steve's buddy. Oh, I know Steve. I don't know you. Mm-hmm. Well, come on, man. I'm going to come in. I'm going to hang out. I'll stay the night. And we'll talk. We'll be like, no. You're not coming in, bro. Like, if you want to get to know each other, then like, let's find a time maybe and we go get some coffee or something, but you're not coming in my house. That's what it is.
Yeah. Good example.
It's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we should walk every day of the best of your life. And your best day of your life should not matter if your wife gave you sex, if she didn't approve of you, mm-hmm. or anything like that.
Yeah. Or she's having a bad, a negative mood.
If you got fired from your job, mm-hmm. literally, your job's not going with you to heaven. None of the money's going with you to heaven. Yeah. And God says, do the ravens not, they don't sow or reap or store up in a barn. And do I not take care of them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, well, if he's not taking care of you, well, then chances are, guess what? You're not doing the work to be taken care of. because faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Works prove your faith that you actually love God, but you don't actually love God, and he's not a God if your wife dictates your mood and not God. Your wife should never dictate your mood.
Nothing should ever dictate your mood.
God should be the only
Yeah.
thing. And guess what? He loves you
Yeah.
so much,
Yeah.
more than you can ever imagine. He
Yeah.
knew you before you were in the womb. You're chosen. He's got this life for you, and he wants you to step into it. And I promise you, at 39, I was looking out the window of my house in an orange giant sweater with a cup of coffee in my hand. It was raining outside. It was 11:30 in the morning, and I had unlimited free time, unlimited money, a beautiful wife, 2 healthy kids in a house. And I thought to myself, if this is my life until I'm 65, this is going to suck. Why? Because I was not enough in God. I was not enough in myself. I was praying every day and I was going to church, but I didn't understand he had a plan for my life. I thought the whole purpose of going to church was to be saved. And then everybody goes to heaven. We all have the same exact experience in heaven. But that's the thing. We're all going, even if you are saved and you're going to heaven, we're not all going to have the same exact experience there. That's biblical. You store up treasures in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very different. Now, you won't be playing comparison and jealous that somebody else has a better heaven experience than you. You'll just be stoked that you're there. But here's the thing. You got to be enough. Oh, well, guess what, guys? Our marriage just happened to be mediocre at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who was even more mediocre? Diane.
Me.
But when I came enough in God and I went all in on him and I stopped caring about the things of this world, which took a sanctifying process. It took breaking after breaking after breaking. Every January and sometimes multiple times a year, I pray this prayer for a month straight. God, search me, break me, and send me. And if you want to find out what pain is like, pray that every day. And when the pain comes, don't get frustrated because it's going to be worked together for good. But he's got to break this crap off of you so you don't need your wife. And when it gets to that, there's no pressure, there's no expectations, just love.
Mm-hmm.
Becomes really special. Let's tidy this up, babe. We got to take the kids out to dinner. I'm gonna give you guys a kind of cool little side tidbit. So as you guys know, we play games with our kids every single night. We have a very similar routine every single night, and it produces fruit, so we repeat it. But there's 4 of us, Diane, me, and our 2 boys. They're 17 and 14 at the time of this recording, and we rotate every night who gets to choose the game. So it goes Diane, me, my oldest, then my youngest, and we rotate who gets to choose the game for that night, and we play the game. But we do that with going out to dinner. We go out to dinner once a week, and we do that with who gets to choose. So then nobody complains. Same thing with a game and going out to dinner, because then nobody complains because you're going to get your turn. I'm going to get my turn. You're going to get your turn to the kids. And so tonight we're going out to dinner and we're just using that. So that's a little tidbit for you guys to implement. It keeps the peace and it kind of keeps it fun. So you don't always have to be like, well, he doesn't like this and we like this. So you kind of go to the same place and then it gets mundane. We get to go try out new places that maybe you guys don't like. But tough cookie, because guess what? We're going to try it out. And then it's always like, oh, that was a cool experience. And we met this person, or I actually liked this. But it's how you do it by giving somebody else a chance to do it. But it's not like, well, my wife's not going to like that spot, so I better go. Where do you want to go tonight, babe? No, like we're going here. And that's where I'm going to choose. And when it's your turn, you're going to go where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, amen, let's go. No grumbling or complaining.
Yeah.
So implement that, guys.
Yep.
So one last thing is, it's like, it puts pressure on her to validate you. No woman wants to be responsible for a man's confidence ever. And that's what I see with a lot of wives. They're like, man, I feel responsible to make them feel good.
Well, because they feel like they should be trying to fix him, which isn't correct, but they feel like, what can I do to make him feel better? What can I do to make him like himself more? What can I, am I doing something wrong? And then they start questioning themselves.
Why isn't he happy?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, and so I've told guys this before, your wife could sleep with you every single night and it won't change how you feel. At first it will. You'll be like, this is sweet. But what happens the time when she gets the flu? And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks, you haven't had sex. You still going to be the same? Nope. You're going to go watch some porn? Probably. You going to be moody? Yep. You'll find out very quick what is an idol when you can't have that thing.
Yeah.
Find out quick how money's an idol. Go ahead and give everything away. Why do you think Jesus asked the rich young ruler to give everything away? Because it was an idol in his life.
Yeah.
It's not that money's a bad thing. The love of money is. He knew that guy had a love of money. So he asked him, okay, give it all away.
And he couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. He walked away. I have a feeling, had he said yes. Just the same way God asked Abraham to put Isaac on the altar, he'd have said, all right, cool. No, you can go ahead and keep it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just testing you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go change lives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But he couldn't, so he walked away. So ask yourself right now, like if your wife decides to never sleep with you again, are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Like get to that spot. Or are you attached to, I need X, Y, and Z. I need the boat. I need the trips around the world. I need the 72-inch TV. I need all the subscriptions. I need all of that stuff. What do you need?
You need God.
You need God. You need air. You need water. And you need an X amount of food to put food in your belly. And other than that, you should be the happiest person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what you have? You can go just love on other people.
Mm-hmm.
When you love on other people, it fills your cup tremendously.
Yeah.
When we did it was a men's event, but we're going to be doing a couples one event coming up here. And we did a women's panel, and one of the wives was asked a question, hey, what's some ways you and your husband love to connect? She says, one of the things that fills my cup the most is when we go serve together.
Mm-hmm.
Like go serve at the church, go serve at a food pantry, go serve at they go to like a sex trafficking help at this facility where these women, I think we're going to have the facilitator actually on the podcast, but where women who are been pulled out of sex trafficking are being rehabilitated and, grown with the Lord and all these
Mm-hmm.
things and getting back into public and getting them set back up with life. And they go volunteer there. She said, when we serve together,
Mm-hmm.
she didn't say, oh, my favorite thing to connect with my husband is when we're naked in bed.
Yeah.
This couple has plenty of sex. They're actually doing a sex fast right now for 40 days. They're not Catholic, but they like the idea of Lent.
Mm-hmm.
And so they give up that. And it was like, man, are you sure? But they were like, he said, the only reason we both said yes to it is because we knew it was going to be really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to be that for us. And so we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So
it is hard. We've done it.
It creates a fear-based marriage. If you walk on eggshells, afraid of her reactions, you withhold the truth, upsetting her.
Mm-hmm.
You let her lead because you're afraid of conflict. No woman is the head of the house. I'll tell you that right now. My woman is amazing. I know amazing, amazing women in our life. And every single one of them will tell you, my man is the head of this house.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they have order.
Yeah.
Why? Because the husband led. Why? Because the husband doesn't need sex. The husband doesn't need their wife. I don't need your approval, and they don't need it anyways. And when I mean I don't need your approval or your validation, it isn't I don't need your approval to go do whatever I want. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
We're a team. At the end of the day, I do make the decision, but you are my number one counsel, and you trust my decision. Why? Because I have fruit. How come I have fruit? Because my habits add up every single day.
Absolutely.
Women want security. Men, if you need validation, they do not feel secure in you. They will not trust you because your emotions will be all over the place. So we already know the rest. We're going to tidy this up. It leads to resentment and passive aggression. If she doesn't validate you, you start resenting her. You may act passive aggressive, shutting down or pulling away. Instead of leading with strength and love, you manipulate to get what you want. It keeps you from being the man you were called to be. Pick up your cross, guys. Marriage is not supposed to be about what your wife can do for you to fill your cup in those aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Sex is a part of marriage. Appreciation is a part of it. All of that. But not as a need, but as something that's given because we just love each other.
Yeah. It's like the cherry on top.
It is. It 100% is, guys. So we kind of went a little bit, I don't want to say all over the place, but I just want to give you see the passion that comes out of us about our faith. Nothing else matters, guys.
Yeah.
Like nothing else matters. Get to that spot. I'm going to challenge you this week. Walk around, act, but I don't mean distance or arrogant or anything else. Just like, oh, this is who I am. And don't be like, well, this is who I am to her. Like, but just be like, I'm good. Like, she's going to start changing in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do a podcast on the 4 stages of growth because we haven't done that one. But there's 4 stages of growth in marriage. And there's a whole dynamic on that. But guys, get to that spot of not needing validation, and that's where it's at. Now, just because you listen to this doesn't mean it turns off. You have to do the growth to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to take notice. So how do you get growth to being there? By being a follower of Christ and doing those disciplines. Want me to tell you what they are real quick? Read at least 1 chapter a day in the Bible. Pray every single day. Sit for 30 minutes of solitude every single day. Be in a strong men's community weekly of strong men. And if you don't have it, build it. Trust me, I've seen it. Even when people said they can't do it, they'll do it. We did it. You'll build it,
God will
right?
provide it.
Tithe at least 10% of your money. What's another one?
Serve.
Yeah, serve others. Like use your gifts and abilities and talents to serve others. Tell other people. The next one be witness. Tell other people about God. Take a Sabbath, a full day off.
Mm-hmm.
And these are those habits that you do day in and day out, and you'll grow. The main big ones are sitting in solitude, getting to know God, being in community with other strong men who have fruit in their life,
Mm-hmm.
not believers, followers, because though the believers will lead you astray, being in the word daily. And I'm telling you, you'll grow. No days off. You'll grow tremendously.
Yeah.
Do that for a year and your life will never look the same. The problem is you can't stop.
Right. Yeah. You'll find your worth in God and not need your worth in other things.
Absolutely. And then he'll start trusting you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to be obedient. When he says do this, you do it. You don't wait 3 weeks. You do it in that moment. When God says move, you move. Abraham rose early in the morning. Joseph, when he told him to go to Egypt, they got up and they went right then. Everybody who in the Bible who was obedient did it right then.
Mm-hmm.
Move.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They did. And guess what? They were given the nations because of it.
Yeah.
That's why people don't like the prosperity gospel. Guess what? Because you're not prospering. Oh, have you ever read Jeremiah 29:11? For I know the plans that I have for you, Lord, declares the Lord. Plans to what? Prosper you? Oh, what? No, God. That's the prosperity gospel. God, you can't talk about that. Prosper you and not harm you. Plans for what? Oh, a hope and a future. Right? Prosper you. That's not just finances, that's other aspects. God preaches that. When you know why people don't like the prosperity gospel, it's because they're not prospering in their life because they ain't doing a dang thing. James talks about this. Don't deceive yourselves by just reading the word. Do what it says. Do what it says. How hard is it? Do what it says. Do what it says. Most people pick and choose.
Do it all.
You do everything the Bible says, your life will be insane.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys know we're passionate. We love you. And if this impacted your life, please, it means the world to us if we get 5 stars. This is our main focus for this next season of this year, is to take this podcast. It's really, really growing. We're going to have big guests on. We're going to have strong, masculine men of faith, and we're going to just take things by storm. We're going to push this podcast really, really big. But we want to grow it. So please rate it 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe. And if you're interested in coaching, click the link below and come into in a community of men who are taking territory for God and getting absolute phenomenal transformations. But you got to do the work too. You got to do what it says. So love y'all.
Bye.